Welcome, Lucy Knight Andre. Thank you for taking part in the Embassy of Switzerland's series on innovating in times of crisis. You are the General Counsel and Corporate Secretary at Stadler U.S., and I'm the Ambassador of Switzerland to the United States of America. We live in challenging times, but also in times that actually foster innovation, and in our case, Swiss innovation. Now, tell me a little bit about Stadler Rail and what you're doing in America.
So Stadler Rail is a rail car manufacturer, and we've been branching out recently into signaling, and obviously we do a lot of maintenance. And worldwide, we've been, I think, manufacturing trains for over 78 years now. Worldwide, we have about 12,000 employees, and in 2015, we opened up our doors here in the United States. So we are in Salt Lake City, Utah. We have a production facility here. We originally leased some space, and then in 2019, we opened our doors to a brand new 250,000 square foot production facility here. We've since, in the 18 months since we opened our doors, we've actually expanded already to be doing some more things, and we have a lot more expansion in the works. We have about 420 employees here. We have several contracts across the United States and just signed a couple of maintenance contracts. So we are expanding rapidly in the U.S., and we're excited to bring Swiss quality and innovation to the transit industry here.
Yeah, speaking of Swiss quality and innovation, what makes Stadler trains special?
Well, I wish everyone could ride one, and then they wouldn't even have that question in their mind. But definitely, I think precision, we strive for absolute quality in everything we do. When you look at a Stadler train, it is pristine, it's beautiful, but it also runs, and it runs well, and it runs on time.
Yes, of course.
Yes. Absolutely. And, I just think that we have all of this, we bring the epitome of what people think of. When they think of Switzerland, they think of precision and quality. And our trains embody all of those things. They're beautiful trains. And we had actually our lieutenant governor out yesterday, and he sat in the driver's seat of one of our trains. And one of the engineers said to him, this train isn't moving now, but if you could feel it move, it goes over bumpy tracks and you don't even know it's moving. You're just watching the landscape go by. So we love that about it. It's not a rough ride. It's a beautiful ride. And that is Swiss quality.
Very, very, very Swiss qualities indeed.
Yeah.
Now, 2020 has been a very interesting year, hasn't it? So we went through all the problems generated by COVID-19, by the lockdowns, by all the necessity to switch, as we do today, to a much more virtual world of contacts and of networking. How has Stadler Rail coped with COVID-19?
Well, I think we've coped pretty well. We have done what a lot of the world's doing. We've learned to rely on some virtual meetings. We've had to make some changes in our facility. We've instituted some shifts. We've definitely made protective gear available to our employees. We've tried to social distance. We've put up hand sanitizing stations. But in the end, we have to be here, and we have to do what we do. You can't build a train from home. So our ability to go virtual has been limited, and we've tried to keep people at work. Our biggest priority has obviously been, it's a dual priority, delivering our trains on time and on quality for our customers, but also taking care of our workforce and ensuring that they keep their jobs, that they stay safe while they're coming to work. And that's we've had to be nimble, and we've had to be flexible in doing that. And as much as we've been able to shift to a virtual world, that's really not our culture. We are a culture of face-to-face, of collaboration, of being together. And that's probably been the biggest challenge for us as we try to navigate this virtual world where we're having meetings not face to face. So it's been hard, but we've really tried to adapt, keeping our customers and our workforce as our main priorities.
Have you been actually drawing lessons about how to organize, say, your factories in the future to make sure that in the event of a possible next pandemic, maybe a deadlier one, that you would be able to keep operating? Because in fact, you are an industrial company, and you can't. You can't possibly produce from home. That's quite obvious. So, have you kind of reorganized also your production facilities with an eye to the possible future and possible future challenges?
Well, yes, we've been able to, we didn't have shifts here, but we've instituted shifts and discovered that it works quite well. We've really had to reorganize how our teams work together. And that's been a great blueprint for how we can do it in the future. In some ways, we found out that reorganization has worked better, and our teams have worked better together. So that's been an unexpected surprise that, sometimes it takes a little bit of disruption. You shake something up and you discover a better way of doing things. We tend to really rely on our history and how we've done things. And in many ways, that's good. That's comforting. And that's what's probably driven us through this crisis. But also our ability to be flexible and adapt has been proven through all of this. And I would say one of the biggest things we've learned is how dedicated and resourceful and resilient our employees have been through all of this. They have been amazing.
Speaking of dedicated employees, Stadler, being a Swiss company, has something really special that I would say only Swiss companies and to a certain extent German companies have, and this is the vocational training program and how do you train young people, which is something we are extremely proud of. And actually we are working with the U.S. authorities to try and export this very special Swiss quality aspect to the U.S. market. So did the training of your apprentices somehow have to be totally reorganized during COVID?
Well, we had a tiny bit of change, but no, it hasn't been totally reorganized. So as you know, we instituted a Swiss model apprenticeship program here. It's something we're very proud of. We've worked we've worked with federal authorities and the Departments of Commerce and Education and Labor. We've also worked with a lot of state authorities to really set up this program that we are so proud of. Last year was our first cohort of apprentices that had 16 apprentices, and this year we have 12. We started on time with the 12, and the model is that while they're still in high school, that last year, our schools here are split up into A days and B days. So they go to school and receive in-class instruction on A days, and then they come to us on B days. When schools shut down for COVID, then their in-class instruction ended. And in the beginning, their instruction here at Stadler ended as well. But just a few weeks into it, we decided that if we were keeping everyone here and we're keeping them safe, we would ask our apprentices and their parents and the schools if we could have them in-house. And in fact, the way we changed what they did is we brought them in full time, and we were able to make up some of their classroom instruction here, and we had their practical training continue. So we were lucky that they were so dedicated and so eager to be here, and their parents were thrilled to have them here. And because of all the precautions we've taken here, no one's been sick. So we've been able to really carry forward with that program that we're so proud of right now.
I can imagine parents were very, very happy to have the kids out of the house during this really difficult time. That's definitely something. But did you also draw lessons in train design, in terms of adapting the train design to, the new way of traveling and the social distancing, and how do you cope with it?
Yeah, so that's interesting. We're in the course of a pretty big proposal right now, and we've been working on it through this COVID, through the pandemic, and we've had to really bring some of the things that we've learned into that train design. So some filters, some blue light filters, some sanitizing stations. This particular train design has a food car, and we've adapted some more protective things into that food car. And yeah, it's been an interesting opportunity for us to be able to be even more forward thinking than we usually are, and being able to adapt to this pandemic.
Which of the many strengths of Stadler Rail has helped you maybe the most go through these challenging COVID times?
So we are a company that's very culturally diverse, and that brings so many opportunities, but as you know, it also brings some challenges as we try to really understand each other and be flexible and be communicative. And that ability to do that we were already developing before the pandemic, I think has been something that has been our great strength through the pandemic, is that we were already having to be flexible, understanding, communicative, and we've just been able to build on that during this uncertain time.
You are a manufacturing high technology company. So what in your opinion could be the implications of a crisis like COVID, this disrupting time, for the future of how you think about manufacturing?
So I think one of the things that we've been battling with, and I think we'll continue to battle with throughout the next several years, is the severe disruption in our supply chain. We have, obviously, we have some issues getting goods in, and we have even bigger issues with travel. We're highly collaborative. We need our Swiss people here. We need our Americans to go to Switzerland. We need to have those teams work together. So that's been very, very difficult for us. So we've tried to find ways around that, and I think we're putting in sort of backstops for this kind of any kind of disruption that happens in the future. So I think we've learned, again, how to meet virtually, but also, for example, our trains, we have some trains ready to go into commissioning. They rely on some software engineers to come in from our suppliers and from Europe, and they can't get here. So we've had to find ways to do some very creative software validation over the internet, over software. So we've had to do that, and I think that'll have some implications for the future. That we know it's still not our choice of how to do it, but it's a way we'll be able to do it in the future if we need to. And I just think, again, being very nimble about the way we meet and the way we collaborate is going to be something that we have to focus on.
By the way, you shouldn't forget that this is a message to all Swiss companies in the U.S. that there is an embassy that can help get people in if there is a very strong necessity. And the U.S. embassy in Switzerland has also been extremely helpful. So do not forget that there is one of the many reasons why you have embassies in a country like the United States of America. So we might be able to help. But
both embassies have been incredibly helpful to us. I really need to thank you for your work together and for how you've been able to help us throughout this. This has been, we wouldn't be where we are if we didn't have that kind of help. And I think, we've been able to band together too with other Swiss companies and other European companies who need the same help, and we've been able to really have be collaborative with them in ways that we weren't before.
Can we go back for a minute to the problem of the supply chains? There have been many disruptive aspects. First of all, some tariffs imposed during the crisis on certain types of goods. Then, of course, the factual disruption or the physical disruption of the supply chain from many different continents and whatever. Are you drawing lessons for the future? Like, what do we do in the next crisis? Do we reorganize our supply chains? Do we shift our supply chains to countries where, let's say, the political, because it's also mainly a political risk of seeing the supply chains disrupted, will be much lower?
Well, honestly, one of the things that has been hard for us is Stadler has philosophy of really trying to work with companies who are small and even medium sized, just like we were and still are in many ways. So we like local. We like to really support that. And so some of those companies have had their consequences have been even stronger than for the rest of us, and they're having severe difficulties. So I would say a couple of the ways that we're looking at how this will translate into the future and how we can continue to do business with these companies, is to support their efforts to localize here in the United States. So there are quite a few Swiss and other European companies who are looking at maybe being closer to us, especially as our business grows. So the efforts that we can make to help localize them, that will be even more of a push, I think, for us than it has been in the past. Also just looking at like lead times and how we can maybe just have a little more insurance to get things here at a good time. Sometimes we cut it close, and we're looking at not doing that anymore and trying to have a little more lead time. But I do think the biggest thing for us is trying to help people get over to the United States, Swiss companies get here. Because we rely on a lot of Swiss companies to build our
trade. And that is, by the way, something we are extremely proud of. You might not be aware, but Swiss companies are creating and have created 250,000 jobs in the United States of America. So we have a very strong economic presence, and it's not just selling goods and bettering our trade balance, which is excellent, but it's about a mutually beneficial relationship between the two economies. And because we are two mature and two very highly advanced technological societies, we are able to operate on an eye-to-eye, let's say at eye-to-eye level, and it makes it really interesting for both sides to invest and produce on the other side of the Atlantic. So in the future, the more Swiss companies start producing in the United States of America, the better it is for both sides, and actually including for Switzerland too, and we are very proud of that. So let's just, because we are nearing the end of this interview, and thank you so much for your time. So the times have been challenging. Now, if I look at the silver lining on the horizon, what has been the most positive aspect for you of this COVID crisis?
So I think for our company, definitely what I said, discovering that our employees are flexible, they're resilient, they're dedicated, that has just created such a great feeling here. We've had to pull together to do something, so it's really brought us together. If you ask me personally, I'm an attorney, so when I negotiate all the contracts, and you know this, you always think of the worst case scenario and wonder, could we really make it through that? Well, yep, we can. Now I know that. So that's good. We always promise our customers and our suppliers and our stakeholders that if the worst happens, we'll be a good partner. And they promise the same thing in return. And we've discovered that that's true. We can all be great partners in getting through this. And so I think that's the silver lining, that those partnerships have been strengthened, that in adversity, we've found a way to get through this together. And, that's what you want in the beginning. You just don't ever want to have it proven, but it's nice now that it is.
And, the silver lining for me personally is that once this horrible crisis is over, I had planned for a long time to come and see the great state of Utah and to visit Stadler in Salt Lake City, because this is one of the companies we are extremely proud of, really extremely proud of. So let's hope that in the near future, and of course with the help of the Swiss industry, we will be able to solve the COVID problem, and we can start with a normal life again. But thank you very much for your time, and we are very proud of all the work that Stadler is doing. Thank you so much.
Much. We really appreciate our partnership with you as well, and we're so proud to be a Swiss company.
Thank you.